Shalom, shalom. All praise to the Most High, man. Yeah, how about Shimmy Shy? You know what I'm saying? Back at it with a quick little lesson, you know what I'm saying, to edify the body. You know what I'm saying? Lord willing that you get something from it, man. You know, we're just going to read something from King Solomon. You know, the wisest king to ever live, man. You know, get some wisdom, you know what I'm saying, today. You know, it's one of my favorite chapters, and I like, you know what I'm saying, I like reading it. You know what I'm saying? Because it's something about it that makes you just like look at the aspect of appreciating life and also taking life, you know what I'm saying, seriously, because, you know, our life is like a vapor. You know, I'm going to get into that too. All right, let's get into it. Let me put my phone on D&D so we don't get no distractions. Okay, it says, we're going to be reading the NLT, and it says New Living Translation, Ecclesiastes 7, Wisdom for Life. It says a good reputation is more valuable than costly perfume, man. So having a good name is more better than costly perfume, man. You know what I'm saying? Because, you know, we always want to stay blameless as much as we can, man. You know, because we don't want to go out there, you know, doing anything crazy. You know what I'm saying? Let me see what it says in Proverbs real quick. Let me get this real quick. Let me see what it says. See what it says, Proverbs. Yep, Proverbs 22:1. Perfect precept. It says, a good name is rather to be chosen than great riches and loving favor rather than silver and gold. So having a good name, being blameless in this thing, man, is better than great riches, you know, having billions of dollars, but you have a stain on your reputation, man, you know, and loving rather than silver and gold, man, you know. So that's something to think about, man, having a good name, man. You always want to have a good name, man. Let me get this in Proverbs. You know, let's stay with Solomon, man. You know, all praise to the Most High. You know what I'm saying? King Solomon had a lot of wisdom, man. Let me see. Nah, that's not the one I wanted. Is that it? It might be in Sirach. Let me see what Sirach says. Let me see what Sirach says. Let me see. It's gonna go into the next verse. Actually, Salakia, that's gonna go into the next verse. So having a good reputation or a good name is more valuable than costly perfume. So you always want to have a good name. You want to be as blameless as you can in this thing. You know, and the day you die is better than the day you are born. So, right, you know, the day that you actually take your last breath is better than the day that you die, man. Because think about it. You're born into a life, you know what I'm saying? You're not born into a life. You're born into a world that's full of sin, you know. We get this in Proverbs 10 real quick. It says, the fear of the Lord prolongeth days, but the years of the wicked shall be short, man. You know, so the fear of the Lord prolongeth days, but the years of the wicked shall be short, man. Is that the precept I wanted? It might be. Nah, it might be in Sirach. Let me see what Sirach says. You know what I'm saying? Let me get this in Sirach real quick. Yeah, this is Sirach. Yeah, it's Sirach. Yeah, Sirach. Hold up, Salaki. Give me 1 second. I'll be right back. Salaki, I'm back. Okay, it says a good life have but few days. You can live a good life in a few days. You know, a few days can go into what, 40 years, 50 years old. Don't it say the good die young? You know, that worldly proverb says, but a good name endure forever. Man, that's why we say all these men in the Bible had the same understanding. Nobody in the Bible spoke a different word, you know. It says a good life have but few days, but a good name endureth forever. You want to have a good name, you know, because we hear oftentimes people love down talking on people as soon as they die. Oh, that person was just wicked. Oh, all he did was just steal, rob, kill. All she did was do this and that. That's why it says, let me highlight it, but a good name endureth forever. You know what I'm saying? So like it wasn't the Proverbs when it was actually Sirach 41:13. So a good name endureth forever, man. Let's go back to it. It says, better to spend your time at funerals than at parties. After all, everyone dies. So the living should take this to heart. Everybody should take it to heart that one day that you're going to take your last breath. One day your spirit is going to depart from this body and go back to the man that made it, you know? Let's get this in Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 7, real quick. Let's start at verse number 1 and read down. It says, I myself also am a mortal man. King Solomon said it. King Solomon was the wisest man to ever live. But he said, I myself am a mortal man. You know, I'm in this flesh. It's just like you, I'm in this flesh. You know, it says light to all because like it says, you know, man was formed from the dust of the ground. You know what I'm saying? Everybody is formed from the dust. You know what I'm saying? Everybody is formed from the dust. You know, man, let me get that in 1 Corinthians. Let me get that. Is it 15? Let me see if it's 15. Let me see. Is it 15? It might be 38. It might be verse 38. Let's see what 38 say. Nah, it's actually 39. Yep. Let's see. Put through 39. Okay, why is it just showing up 30? Oh, I put 39. Let me go back and put 38. Put 38. Let's see what it say. Right? So the living should take this to heart that everybody dies, man. You know, it says, but the Most High giveth it a body as it had pleased him, and to every seed of his own body. All flesh is not the same flesh. So everything that's alive and breathing today does not have the same flesh. Everything has different flesh. Let's see what it says. But there is one kind of flesh of men. You know what I'm saying? Man is formed from a different flesh. It says another flesh of beasts, another of fishes, and another of birds, man. It's gonna go into celestial and let me see, is it terrestrial? If I'm not mistaken. Let's get the next verse, man. You know, so all flesh is not the same flesh, man. You know, it says there's also celestial bodies, but bodies terrestrial, but the glory of the celestial is one, and the glory of the terrestrial is another. You know, the angels have another type of body than us. The Most High has another type of body than us. Yahweh Shai has another body than us. We're terrestrial. We're of the earth. We have corruptible flesh that wants to sin. They're in a celestial body that has wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. They have the mind of not sinning. That's why when Yahweh Shai comes and whoever's of the hopeful elect, you know what I'm saying, and the large multitude of Israel that is scattered abroad is going to get a new body that's not going to want to sin, you know? So let's go back now to Wisdom of Solomon 7. Let's get back to Wisdom of Solomon 7. It says, and the offspring of him that was first made of the earth. We all know that's talking about Adam. You know, let's get that real quick. What is Solomon talking about? Let's go to 2nd Ezra 6 and 54. Let's get that real quick. This is for anybody that's new. 2nd Ezra is one of the books that they took out the Bible. You know, it says, and after these, Adam also whom thou madest Lord of all thy creatures. Of him come we all. Now we all come from Adam. Every race that you see today, living and breathing, all come from who? They all come from Adam. You know what I'm saying? Adam was made in the image of the Most High. The Most High is a brown melanated being. He is a so-called black man, you know, with woolly hair. You know what I'm saying? His son is what? A black man with white woolly hair and beard, you know? So everybody comes from Adam. And also Adam was a black man as well, because he was made from what? The earth. Let's look up rich soil real quick just to prove that. What does rich soil looks like? Look at that. Look at that. That's rich soil. That's rich soil. Adam was made from the earth. So what does that mean? Adam was what? Black. Adam was not the white man that you've been taught. Adam was a black man, you know? Let's keep going. It says, also, whom thou madest Lord of all thy creatures. Of him come we all. And the people also whom thou hast chosen. Who is that? The Israelites. The Most High Ben had a chosen people from the beginning of creation. Adam's lineage was the sons of God. Let's keep going. All this have I spoken before thee, O Lord, because thou madest the world for our sakes. The world that you see today was made for the Israelites' sake. Everywhere in the world that you can think about and parts of the earth that have not been discovered was made for the Israelites, man. Let's keep going. It says, as for the other people, who's the other people? People that are not Israelites, which also come of Adam. Thou, who is thou, the Most High, has said that they are nothing. You know, all other races that are not the Israelites are nothing to the Most High. But what? But be like unto spittle. When you spit on the ground, you got that nasty taste in your mouth. Are you going to go down on the ground and lick that back up? Of course not. You know? Of course not. And as liken the abundance of them unto a drop that falleth from a vessel. If anybody that owns pets, if it's hot outside and you giving your dog some water, are you gonna sit up here and worry about every drop that's falling from that dog bowl? Of course not. That's how it is with the Most High, man. The Most High cares about his people. The Most High cares about Israel, you know? The Most High cares about his people, man. Let's go back to it, man. Let's go back to Wisdom of Solomon. It says, and in my mother's womb was fashioned to be flesh in the time of 10 months, being compacted in blood of the seed of man. You know? Like we say, man, the Lord, man, that's a deep understanding, man. It says, of the seed of man, and the pleasure that came with sleep. And when I was born, I drew in the common air and fell upon the earth, which is of like nature. And the first voice which I uttered was crying, as all others do. This is King Solomon. Whoa, what just happened? Whoa, what just happened? I accidentally clicked too fast. Let's go back to it. So King Solomon said the same thing. The first voice which I uttered was crying, as all others do. Everybody know when a baby is born, babies cry. Everybody should know that, man. You know, I was nursed in swaddling clothes, and that was with cares. For there is no king that had any other beginning of birth. Don't let nobody ever tell you nothing else. Man is born the exact same way. Man did not form from no animals. That don't even make sense. It says, for all men have one entrance into life, and the light going out, which is what? Everybody, including myself, is born and has to die. All have a beginning and all have an end. Everybody has to die one day. You know, everybody has to die one day. Everybody has to take their last breath one day. Let's keep going. It says, wherefore I pray, and understanding was given me. I called upon Yahweh, and the spirit of wisdom came to me. If you understand, man, that's talking about First Kings, when the Most High came to Solomon in a dream and asked him, man, what do you want? I give you anything that you want. And what did Solomon ask for? Solomon asked for wisdom. If I'm not mistaken, I think that's First Kings, the 3rd chapter. Yep. So Solomon asked for wisdom. You know, Solomon asked for wisdom. It says, I prefer her before scepters and thrones. So like it. Solomon said, I wanted wisdom before what? Scepters and thrones, and esteem riches. Nothing in comparison of her. There's nothing to be compared to wisdom. Nothing can compare to wisdom, man. You know, and wisdom is given from the highest, man. Let's go back now to Ecclesiastes 7, man. Let's go back to Ecclesiastes 7. Let's keep going. It says, so the living should take this to heart, that what? Everybody has to what? Everyone dies. The living should take this to heart, that everyone dies. This is King Solomon, the wisest man to ever live, said what? The living should take this to heart, that what? Everyone dies. Everybody has to die. And death is not supposed to, you're not supposed to fear death. You know, everybody should take this to heart, that what? Everybody's got to die one day. You know, let's keep going. Sorrow is better than laughter, for sadness has a refining influence on us, man. Sorrow is better than laughter. Let me get this real quick. It's in Sirach. A wise man scarce smile. Most of the time, people think I be mad. I always looking sad in the face. I don't be smiling. Sis don't be smiling. Let's get this real quick. This is Sirach or Ecclesiastes in the Apocrypha 21 and 20. A fool lifted up his voice with laughter, but a what? But a wise man doth scarce smile a little. A wise man hardly ever smiles. He's thinking about the precepts. He's thinking about the prophets. He's thinking about Yahweh Shai. He's thinking about the highest. He's taking it to heart that one day I have to die, and one day I'm going to have to give account to the Son of Man. A wise man doth scarce smile a little. People always think I'd be mad, I'd be always sad. No, this man is what? Wise. It doesn't say a fool, it says a wise man doth scarce smile a little. You see past all this stuff, man. All the lies that we've been taught, man. You know, there's nothing wrong with laughing, you know, having a little good laugh, you know. But a wise man doth scarce smile, man. A wise man doth scarce smile. Let's keep going. A wise person, look, a wise person thinks a lot about death. Why? Because I'm looking at my life as an aspect of it could be gone. Let me get that in James real quick. What is that? Life is like a vapor. Yeah, life is a vapor, man. Life is like a vapor, man. Like that smoke. It's there for a moment, but as soon as you turn your head away and you go look back, it's gone. Let's keep going. It says, whereas ye know not what shall be on the morrow, for what is your life? It is even a vapor that appear for a little time. That smoke say like if you're cooking something in the kitchen, you know what I'm saying, and that smoke is all in the kitchen. It's all everywhere. You're trying to get it out your house. It's taking about 20, 40 minutes, you know, maybe an hour, you know, if you know. And it says, then vanisheth away, then it's gone. That's how life is. Everybody is here for a moment, then dies. So the living should take this to heart that what? Everybody has to die. Everybody has to die. Everybody has to put that on a mindset that what? I can take my last breath at any moment. All this stuff that we chase after all the stuff that we chase after is going to go to somebody. Whether your dad, your mom, your cousin, your auntie, your uncle, your sister, your brother, your cousin, your children, it's going to go to somebody, man. You know? So we should start thinking about what? Life after death. The kingdom of heaven. Laying up riches on the other side, man, instead of worrying about these carnal aspect of things, man. But like we say, there's nothing wrong because it's going to go into that in Ecclesiastes, you know. There's nothing wrong, you know what I'm saying, with having things. But we always got to keep it in mind that one day my life is going to be gone, you know. And I'm going to have to pass these things on, Lord willing, to my children. You know, anybody that's watching that might have children, you might have to pass it on to the next, you know. It says, a wise person thinks a lot about death, while a fool thinks only about having a good time. Better to be criticized by a wise person than to be praised by a fool. Think about it. You think Akka always trying to get on you? You think sis always trying to get on you? No, they're trying to correct you in love because why? Let's read it again. Better to be criticized by a what? By a wise person than to be praised by a fool. You don't want to be praised by a fool. You don't want to be praised by a fool, man. It says a fool's laughter is quickly gone, like thorns crackling in a fire. This also is meaningless. Extortion turns wise people into fools, and bribes corrupt the heart. It says finishing is better than starting. What's that old proverb that we always heard in life? It's not about how you start, it's about how you finish. You might have started off kind of rough, but what are you going to do in this last aspect? Are you going to finish strong or are you going to give up? You know? Let's keep going. Patience is better than pride. Control your temper, for anger labels you a fool. I ain't gonna lie, sometimes I be having little tempers. You know, I get angry sometimes, you know. But I always gotta remember, I gotta learn how to control that, man. I gotta control that thing, man. Let me get that in I think it's in Proverbs. Let me get that real quick. Get this real quick. What is that? Is this it? Is that Proverbs 12 and 16? Let's see. Which version was it? Was it the NLT? Was it the NLT? Let me see. Was it the NLT? I think it was the NLT. Let me look it up real quick. Let me see. Is it the NLT? Yeah, I think this might be it. It says a fool is quick-tempered, but a wise person stays calm when insulted. This is King Solomon. You got to think about this. King Solomon was the wisest man to ever live. He said, what? A fool is quick-tempered. Like I said, I'm personally working on that myself. You know, at my job, sometimes I deal with people that have what? Attitudes. You know what I'm saying? And sometimes I be, you know what I'm saying, falling, man. I be getting angry, man, you know. But I have to rebuke that thing, man, and get that thing right. It says a fool is quick tempered, but what? But a wise person stays calm when insulted. Think about Yahweh Shai. When he was getting afflicted, it says he didn't even say a word. They were bearing false witness. They were doing all this and that. But what? He stayed calm. Because why? Because we know that there's a righteous judge, man, that's going to judge everybody, you know? TV playing, man. So a wise person stays calm when insulted, man. Might have to go back there and meditate on that later on, man. It says, don't long for the good old days. This is not wise. Now, like I said earlier, there's nothing wrong with, you know what I'm saying, trying to do things, you know. There's nothing wrong with having money. There's nothing wrong with that. Like I said, don't twist my mind. Don't twist my words. There's nothing wrong with having money. But always just keeping in mind that one day, you know what I'm saying, I might have to leave this earth, you know. It says wisdom is even better when you have money. So when you got wisdom and you have money, hey, you know what I'm saying? It says both are a benefit as you go through life. Wisdom and money can get you almost anything. But what? But only wisdom can save your life. Only wisdom can save your life. I got to highlight that. It says wisdom and money can get you almost anything, but only wisdom can save your life. Only wisdom can save your life, man. Only wisdom, man. And that's given from who? The highest, man. It says, except the way the Most High does things. For who can straighten what he has made crooked? Enjoy prosperity while you can. Please enjoy it while you can. But when hard times strike, realize that both come from who? Come from the Most High. Realize that. And it, like Solomon said, look, enjoy prosperity while you can. But what? But when what? Hard times strike. You're going to have hard times when them bills coming in. You're stressed out at your job. Your family acting a certain type of way. You know? But what? Realize this, that what? That what? Both come from who? From Yahweh. Let me get this in Ecclesiastes. I think it's in chapter 11, if I'm not mistaken. Yep, it's in it. So realize that what? Good days and bad days come from who? From the highest. Good and bad days come from the highest, man. Let's get this real quick. Shalom. Shalom. All praise to the Most High. Shalom. Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shabrakatah. Let me see. This is Ecclesiastes chapter 11, verse number 8. I'm going to get in the NLT as well. Realize this, man. When you have good and bad days, they both come from the Most High. It says when people live to be very old, let them rejoice in every day. Hey, man, if you live to about 80, 90, 100 years old, 120, you know, be happy. Rejoice in every day, man. But let them also remember there will be many dark days. Everything still to come is meaningless, man. Always keep that in mind that what? Many dark days are ahead. You know, as we're going through this thing called what? Life. Life is a blessing, but life also comes with what? Tests, obstacles, courses that you have to go through. You know, let's keep going. I got to read that part again, man. It says, enjoy prosperity while you can, but when hard times strike, realize that both come from the Most High. Remember that nothing is certain in this life. Why? I have seen everything in its meaningless life. King Solomon, if I'm not mistaken, if I'm quoting right, in a couple chapters way before, he had everything a man could desire. He had wisdom, he had money, you know, he had almost every single thing. But he still said in this life is meaningless. It's meaningless. You know? Let me get this in Ecclesiastes, in Wisdom of Solomon 7. Let's go back to that. Just in case somebody don't believe me, man. Let's get this real quick. Solomon knew everything. So when he's saying that I seen everything in this meaningless life, it's true. Let's get this real quick, man. Let's get this a Wisdom of Solomon, man. Where's that in the Wisdom of Solomon? Let me see where's that. Get that in 7 verse number 21. Yeah, verse number 21. Let's get that real quick. Ecclesiastes, Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 7. Is it chapter 7? Yeah, chapter 7, verse number let me see 21. Yep, it says, and all such things as are either secret or manifest, them I know. So if you start up a little bit, King Solomon said he knew every single thing that was happening under the sun. The Most High gave him that divine wisdom to understand all things. So when Solomon said, hey, I have seen everything in this meaningless life, including what? The death of good young people. Some people just don't die young because they're wicked. You know? It says, and the long life of wicked people. We seen people, live, wickedly their whole life, It seems like they don't get punished. Everything that they do just prospers, On the other hand, don't be too wicked either. Don't be a fool. Why die before your time? Don't die before your time. Look at that. It says what? Why die before your time? You don't want to die before it's your time, man. That's why it says what? Don't be too wicked either. Don't be a fool. Why die before your time? Pay attention to these instructions. For anyone who fears Yahweh will avoid both extremes. One wise person is stronger than 10 leading citizens of a town. Look at this. Not a single person on earth is always good and never sins, man. Everybody sins. Somehow, form, shape, fashion. What is it? Let me read that again. Not a single person on earth is always good and never sins. Everybody sins. Everybody falls short in some type of, sin that's breaking the commandments of the Most High. But you can overcome your sin. Yahweh Shah overcame the flesh. It says, don't eavesdrop on others. Don't listen to other people's conversation. Why? You may hear your servant curse you for what? For you know how often you yourself have cursed others, man. It's sometimes not wise eavesdropping on somebody's conversation when they're talking about you. Why? For you know how often you yourself have cursed others, man. I have always tried my best to let wisdom guide my thoughts and actions. I said to myself, I am determined to be wise, but it didn't work. Wisdom is always distant and difficult to find. Searched everywhere, determined to find wisdom and to understand the reason for things. I was determined to prove to myself that wickedness is stupid and that foolishness is madness. I discovered that a seductive woman is a trap more better than death, man. Her passion is a snare. Her soft hands are chains. Those who are pleasing to the Most High will escape her, but sinners will be caught in her snare. This is my conclusion, says the teacher. I discovered this after looking at the matter from every possible angle. Though I have searched repeatedly, I have not found what I was looking for. Only one out of 1,000 men is virtuous, but not one woman. But I did find this: the Most High created people to be virtuous, but they have each turned to follow their own downward path. You know, man has, if I'm not mistaken, let me get that at Isaiah chapter 53. It's in Isaiah 53. Let's get that. We all like sheep have gone astray. Every man turned his own way at one point before he came into the knowledge of the truth, man. Yeah, right here. It says, all we like sheep have gone astray. We have turned every one to his own way, but the Lord have laid on him the iniquity of us all. So Isaiah the 53rd chapter is a prophecy about Yahushua. You know, it's a prophecy about Yahushua. So when Solomon said it once again, that what? But I did find this: the Most High created people to be virtuous, but they have turned to follow their own downward path. Like what? All we, like it says, all we like sheep have gone astray. We have turned every one to his own way, and the Lord have laid on him the iniquity of us all. The Most High laid on Yahushua the iniquity of us all, man. Like it's saying in Romans 5:8, you know, that Yahushua died for us while we were sinners, man. Let me get on the definition of virtuous, and then I'm going to close out. All praises be to the highest, man. All praises to the highest, man. Through his son, Yahushua. Let's get this real quick. Virtuous definition. It says having or showing high moral standards. Oh, wrong one. Let's see. Having or showing high moral standards, right? So the Most High what? Created us to have what? High moral standards, because we are his children. We're Israelites. He gave us his law, statute, commandments. He gave us the blueprint of life, man. You know? So, you know, Lord willing, I was edifying to the body. Of course, all praise to the highest through his son, Yahushua. Want to end off and say shalom. Pray that Most High will and that everybody's enduring. Stay prayed up, man, in these times, man. Kwame Asharala.